everyone, my name is Mandy Lynn. I am currently in international waters. So my mom and I are here on Royal Caribbean on a Caribbean cruise. Now while that sounds like a great vacation, and it is, we are also, or I should say I am here for the Winter Stories Summit. It's basically like a writer's retreat conference sort of deal. So I am already on technically day 2. I filmed all of day 1 and already have a video all of day 1 up on Patreon. So if you want to see that, visit the link in the description. In that video, I'm basically doing like a tour of the whole ship, showing it all off, all the things to do, how beautiful it is. And also just kind of talking about how things went on day 1. Today is day 2. It's the official like full day. I've already gone to 2 sort of lecture keynotes, whatever you want to call them. And now we're breaking for lunch. And I'm just going to take you guys along for the ride. So just to let you guys know, I am here based on a partial scholarship. I applied for it. I was given a partial scholarship, so I was able to basically take 50% off of the tuition. So super thankful for that, so I can actually afford this trip. But basically, I'm here to work on my manuscript, Sick and Twisted. I have a mentor that I'm going to work with one-on-one. I also have like a small mentor group that we're going to work together, and there are like workshops and keynotes. I'm not sure if I'm going to go to all of them, because some of them, like this is not just novel writers. This is people who write memoirs, people who write screenplays, that sort of deal. So not all the keynotes really apply to me. So I'm gonna skip the ones that like don't apply to me, because I'm also just here to be on vacation. I've had a very stressful year so far, if you guys know about my manuscript being deleted and my car breaking. So between those 2 things, I'm here to relax. And I'll probably try to sneak in some clips of the actual like keynote stuff. I'm not gonna film like mentor sessions, because that'd be weird, but you guys will see what happens. It's video. Can you play? That's okay. Alright, so what you saw there were what we call the Washi Washi Boys. They just sing for every dinner to remind you to wash your hands to keep your vacation healthy. As you can see, there was a lot going on at the ship. We have a lot of just people entertaining. This guy on the piano, I found him after I got finished with one of my workshops, so I was just super amused. Here we can see that the pool was a bit of a wave pool just because how rough the waters were. We also can see that we got to enjoy Grease the musical, which you'll be able to see a sample in one moment. Oh my god. So we were super lucky because as a part of the Story Summit, they actually had the director on the ship. So later on, the director of Grease actually gave us a little presentation on how the film was created, which was super cool because we first got to see the musical and then got to hear his point of view. So day 2 of the ship was just sailing. That's when I went to a lot of the workshops, and then after that, we finally arrived in Labadee, Haiti. Are you ready to go snorkeling? Yes. Do you want to find our room? We're one of those. One of those. Well, I know for a fact we're one of those. I will say we did not get a chance to snorkel. The water was too rough, so they actually ended up canceling our snorkeling, so we were a little bit bummed, but that gave us more time to explore the island a little bit. The biggest downside, I would say, for cruises is that 1, you don't have a whole lot of time to actually be wherever you are visiting, and 2, a lot of the time, especially with Haiti, this property that we were on was actually owned by Royal Caribbean, so it was all built by them, it's all staffed by them. So the biggest bummer is that you really feel like you don't get to actually experience the island because it's just owned by Royal Caribbean. But you know, they're doing that keeping safety in mind, and because I knew it was a safe area, I actually went on some walks around the island because they had a few walking trails, and I was just really enjoying the nature and the views. We were actually not the only cruise ship that was there, so the island was a bit crowded, but it was so cool to just experience everything, see all the sights. What I saw in Labadee, Haiti is the kind of sights you don't really see anywhere in the United States, in my opinion, but I also live in New England, so we don't have water that is this color. The island had a few different things, like they had this adorable little stray dog. She was absolutely cute. She was super timid, so I have a feeling that she might have had like a bad past. But we also have here a few entertainers that were doing tricks. I eventually found where the zip liners were landing, and that's when me and my mom got curious. We started looking into doing the zip lining ourselves since our snorkeling had gotten canceled. So then we just did it. We signed up, and I've been ziplining before, my mom has not. So this first zip line is just kind of like a warm-up zip line to make sure that everyone knows what position they need to be in when they land. And then they took us up to the big zip line. So this big zip line is called Dragon's Breath. The platform we're on is 500 feet above where we had been standing. And the zip line, this is actually the world's longest zip line that goes over water, and it was absolutely gorgeous. So you could see everywhere, and it was amazing. You can see our cruise ship in the back there. I was lucky enough to be able to have my GoPro on me. And this zip line is 2,600 feet long. And the really cool part is that you can't really tell in the footage, but when I looked down in the water, I could actually see the coral reefs. So it was a kind of trade-off. Since I wasn't able to go snorkeling, I still saw some coral reefs, even though I wasn't in the water. But this was the coolest zip line I've ever been on. It was super expensive, but I do think it was worth it. But I absolutely loved it. So if you ever get the opportunity, just go for it. And here you can see that we ended up going back on the ship, and it was cool to be on the ship and still be docked in Haiti. The mountains, just gorgeous. I can't say it enough. I couldn't stop staring at them. And then eventually we decided to go to Johnny Rockets because they were going to be right where the best view was for when we were sailing away. So you can see that nice view right there. Then it was time for day 4. Day 4 was Jamaica, Portsmouth, Jamaica. Another really cool adventure. So you can see where we docked here. There were a ton of shops. We were able to walk around for about an hour before we had to leave for the excursion we signed up for. And the excursion we signed up for was Dolphin's Cove. And Dolphin's Cove was absolutely amazing. The only bummer is that it was an hour drive away. So it basically took 2 hours out of our day. So we didn't have a ton of time in Dolphin's Cove because they have a ton of things to do there. They gave us some free drinks. We walked around a bit. They had some exhibits. Some of the exhibits were snorkeling with stingrays. They had the shark that you could watch. They had dolphins, of course. Those you see there are actually baby dolphins and their mamas. I, of course, got a coconut. If anyone ever has the opportunity to drink out of a coconut itself, go for it. It is the most hydrating thing ever. They had these bunnies, these lovebirds that you could feed, and they landed on you. And they were just so cute. They were just birds landing on you everywhere, and it was just the most enjoyable experience because we didn't really know this was going to be there when we signed up. We heard that there were other things to do in Dolphin's Cove, but we didn't know that you could like go into a little bird aviary, and we actually took photos with these parrots and macaws. And the iguana. We were able to actually hold them and take a photo with them, so that was super amazing. And then the last thing we did in Dolphin's Cove was, of course, get in the water with the dolphins. So before we got in the water, we actually got to see them do a ton of really cool tricks, which I had never seen before. And then of course we got in the water. They did a few things to warm us up with the dolphins before we actually physically swam with them. But really, all you guys want to see for footage is this. So I had 2 dolphins pushing me at my feet, and I launched off. It was the coolest thing ever. I didn't know what to expect. These dolphins were just amazing. If you ever get the opportunity to swim with dolphins, I'd say go for it. It was something I'd never experienced before, and that's kind of why I love to travel. When I go and visit places, I love to just experience all the different things. And then when we got back, they had a lot of entertainment going on that night. So we see a band playing. There is that piano guy again, so he was super cool because he was actually playing in the elevator and you could get in the elevator, and me and my mom were actually able to track him down and get in the elevator with him. So that was also 80s night, so they got all decked out. Me and my mom went to a bar and did some 80s trivia, and then I kind of just watched these guys perform and have an absolute blast. As you can see, it was just a big, grand old party, and I was having a great time. And don't worry, I actually did get some learning in. My biggest struggle with this trip as a writing retreat is that writing retreats are difficult if you're in a place like a cruise ship. For me, for a writing retreat to be successful, I need to be basically locked in a house. Sort of like what we do for the Wanderers Writer Retreat, where it's just us girls and we all rent out a house together and we just have a blast and actually do some writing. So when you're on a cruise ship and you're like me and you love to travel a ton and you like to experience new things, it's hard to stay focused on the writing when all you want to do is experience everything that is on the ship, because you are also paying for what you see on the ship and you want to make sure that you actually experience it, because this was my first trip. I'm 23 years old. If it's sunny, I don't want to be locked in a room learning. So on the days where we actually went to places like Haiti and Jamaica, I skipped a lot of what was going on. It was a lot of stuff about screenplays and writing nonfiction. I think I might have been actually one of 2 people who were writing fiction, so that made it a lot harder for me to bond with the group, and it also made it so a lot of the workshops didn't always apply to me, which kind of worked out because, again, I did want to go to excursions. So some of you guys were asking me to review the Winter Story Summit, so I guess that would be my big thing, is if you're a fiction writer, I kind of think twice about it, just because it's not catered towards fiction writers. It's catered towards screenwriters and people who write nonfiction, so just keep that in mind. And then I do want to say the footage you are seeing here is actually me and my mom after we got off the ship. We had about 8 hours to kill, I think, before our flight took off. So they had an option where you could go on another excursion. They took us on an airboat ride in the Everglades, but you could also see the alligators that they had rescued, that were in people's backyards, that were maybe a little bit too friendly. And then they also had little baby alligators that they let us hold, which were absolutely adorable. So that was my experience with the Winter Story Summit. I'm still super happy I went. The biggest thing I got out of it was actually the one-on-one mentor sessions. I was able to learn a lot just with my one session with my mentor. She had a lot of tips for me and she gave me a ton of feedback. There were actually 6 things that I learned, and I actually made a post on Patreon saying what those 6 things were. So if you're interested, be sure to go visit Patreon and check out that post, because the 6 things I learned might also be 6 things that you'll want to learn as well. Let me know if you've done any fun writing retreats in the comments down below. Otherwise, that is it for today. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe.